As you can tell, I am quite green obsessed right now. You know, this yarn would make a really nice cabled cardigan. Hi cozy friends, and welcome back to Morgan Unraveled. If you are new here, I like to unravel my mind with my knitting one stitch at a time and share my journey along with you, and that includes my life journey. And my baby girl is now almost 2 months old, and I think last time I saw you I was about 8 months pregnant, so it has been some time. I have some updates for you, but the biggest work in progress I have to update you on is Miss Tilly. Her name is Matilda Sydney, and she is going to be joining me for the video today, so you might hear lots of little noises. I do have my mic, so hopefully make the audio as clear as I can, but she is going to be making her cute little baby sounds along the way. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear her sucking on her passy, but we'll see. I have really been soaking up this time postpartum. As you know, on here I like to be very open about my mental health, and this time around has been so much better than my postpartum experience with my son. I had a really hard time adjusting to the new identity of being a mother, even though it was something I wanted and something we waited for. The hormones just were a lot, and the shift from being an individual to being a mother where someone is relying on you for their every need is a lot for any person, so no matter how much you want it. So I will say I feel like the going from 1 to 2 has been just such a dream. It has just been so special to see my son become a big brother. He is absolutely obsessed with her, and every morning he runs in the room and wants to hold her and say good morning to her and ask how she slept, which can be a very mixed answer. Obviously, I'm running on less sleep these days, but that is okay and a very worthwhile trade-off. As I said, we named her Matilda Sydney to honor the little Australian-made girl she is, but we are mostly calling her Tilly right now, and I think it is so cute. So with all of that, let's jump into things I finished making for her before she was born. The first one being her erantis romper. I will input some B-roll or the photos of her birth announcement because she was wearing it, and the matching bonnet that I made. She has now grown out of it. The bonnet was a little small on her when she first wore it. I think I should have blocked it a little more stretched out, but I never got around to that because my hands are quite full. But she's just wearing it with a cute little bow right now. She came out with a very full head of hair, so all of the heartburn was worth it. But her little romper is so darling. I shared that I knit it in a yarn cone that was 100% merino. I got the yarn cone from Good Yarn here in the US in Portland, Oregon. They have rebranded to a different name now, so I will put that on the screen because I can't remember it right now. I purchased 200 grams of it for $15 US, and I ended up using 80 grams for the romper, and I think it was 11 grams for the bonnet. The bonnet was the erantis bonnet in the matching lace design. I held 3 strands of it to make it a light fingering weight because it is a ultra fine lace weight cone. I used the Navajo chain plying technique to hold 3 strands from one cone without having to wind it into 3 separate balls, and that was really cool to learn and very convenient. I bought a cute little yarn cone stand to be able to sit it on so that it could spin as I knit, and I really enjoyed that process. For this, I learned the provisional cast on, and I ended up using a worsted weight yarn for this fingering weight project and I should have used a finer weight yarn for that provisional cast on instead of the worsted weight I held, because it kind of made the stitches where I picked up for the neckline a little looser, but I think that worked out in my favor because obviously she's a really big girl. She just grows like a little weed. Her little cloth diaper is stretching this outfit to its maximum capacity, and this is probably going to be the last time she wears it because it is summer here and we are not in Australia anymore. So all of the little projects I thought I would be knitting for a fall into winter baby. She is a spring into summer baby here, so we won't be getting as much wear out of it, but it is the most special keepsake, and I got beautiful photos in it, and she looks so darling. She literally looks like a little doll in it. I'm not sure if I talked about this in the video where I shared this as a work in progress, but the only critique I have of this pattern is that it makes you kind of do your own math. Instead of saying do increases every 5 stitches, it says now evenly do 10 increases around this row, and you have to count how many stitches you have on the row and then divide that to figure out how often to do the increases. I found that really annoying for a paid pattern. I think it should do all of the math for me. And I did use my cute little I-cord tool I had shared in the last video to do the neckline and sleeves, and it made it so quick. Like, I did this neckline in less than 10 minutes instead of like probably an hour if I was doing it by hand. And I find it so satisfying to work up. But I have been a little too precious with this little outfit. I have only put it on her 3 times because I'm so scared she's going to spit up in it. But why make a baby knit if you're not going to be willing to give it a wash? So that is something I'm trying to remind myself with her knits going forward. A lot of the other ones I'm making, I'm not as afraid of what the washing process will look like. For some reason, I keep telling myself it's fragile because it's that fine lace weight, but it's held 3-stranded. So I think it actually probably makes it more durable. And I just need to do better about reminding myself to just wear the precious things and not be too special with our special hand knits. They grow so fast that if you don't use them, you will never get to. The next finished object I have to share is actually a crochet project. Behind me, I finished the Blooming Joy crochet blanket by V Crochet. There is like a 40-part series on YouTube of how to knit this blanket, and it is so in-depth, it is so helpful. Did modify it quite a bit because I wanted it to be knit off gauge with a fingering weight yarn and be a baby blanket size. And this project really got me through the transition moving back to America. As I shared, I had a really hard time coming back home. As happy as I was to be around my sister, we really grieved leaving the life we had built there. Doing all of that in the midst of pregnancy and just having that huge transition for my son at 3.5 years old and us coming back into a second round of winter, I fell into just a really low period, and I didn't lean into my knitting very much. There are seasons of low periods where you get through them with your knitting, and then there are some where you just don't have the drive, and that's where I was at, unfortunately. But I feel like this project got me through. When I did start it, I was able to fully sink my teeth into it. I had to watch the video for every row and figure out how to do that row and be referencing the blog posts that she also has available for free to follow through the row. So it just took my entire undivided attention. I will say my son watched way more TV and movies during that time, but you get through however you have to, and that is what we did. And so we would put on Shrek, and I would just crochet my little heart away. This is the most intricate thing I have ever made, knitting or crochet. And I did it in Cascade Heritage sock yarn in the color Macadamia. And the contrast color is a sock yarn I got that was hand dyed in Australia, which is so beautiful and makes it extra special for our little Australian made girl. She smiled. I swear she just smiled as I said that. So when I first started crocheting it, my plan was to knit rows 1 through 51 and stop there. As I got into the row 30 zone, I started to feel like the project wasn't going to end up the size I wanted it to. So I put it down for a couple months until that baby knits video I made, and pulling it out for that video really inspired me to get back to working on it. And what I ended up doing, let me reference my notes. I ended up sizing up my hook at round 35 to a 4mm hook from a 3.5mm. I worked to round 49 as the pattern, and then I skipped rounds 50 through 80 and jumped to 81. but I had to alter how many repeats of the pattern I was doing. So I did have to check my math there and things like that. But I ended up working rounds 81 through 88 as the border instead. And I think it turned out so beautifully. I really love the border design as it ended up. And my Ravelry project page lists what rows I did in pink as well as what rows I worked if you are wanting to recreate something like this. Her pattern is available for free and has thorough video tutorials throughout it. So I very highly recommend this pattern, and I had a lot of fun making it. The next finished object I have to update on is my son's Dagmar Jr. sweater. I did share this as a finished object when it was like in a vest-like state, but he did end up deciding he wanted the sleeves. I did add on the sleeves and it is a full sweater now, but I did that as the weather was warming up. So he actually hasn't gotten to wear it yet, but he's really excited to wear it next year. And that was knit in the Bendigo Woolen Mills in Australia. Their rustic tweed 8-ply in the color Thunder. He picked it out and it has lots of rustic tweedy bits. It's so beautiful and it adds some variation to the color, and it's just such a beautiful design. I have so much fun knitting the Dagmars. I actually have cast one on for her. I'm knitting the smallest size in Drops Cotton Merino in, I think it's off-white. I'll correct myself on the screen if that is not correct, but it is knitting up so cute. I finished the back yoke and then connected the fronts and then lost steam on it for some reason, but it is in the size 1, so she won't be wearing it just yet anyways, especially because it's so warm. So I guess that's one of the reasons I haven't been working on it. But that the Dagmar pattern is by petiteknit. I think I omit saying petiteknit when it's a petiteknit pattern because we all know. But it has the diamond design I absolutely love to knit, and I have done on so many patterns now, the folklore cardigan, the book club cardigan, and the Dagmar, and I always enjoy it. But it also has that honeycomb panel in the middle that adds extra interest, and I think it's really going to give cute little Rory Gilmore vibes from her sweater in the very first episode. So I'm really excited for her to wear that whenever it gets cooler here again. And I think that knit will be really versatile for whatever child we have next, whether it's a boy or a girl. They could definitely wear it too because it's just a white cable knit. The next thing I made her when we got our stuff from storage in Virginia, I had some yarn in storage that I wanted to just use up for a baby knit. It is made in Loops and Threads heathered tweed, and I will put the color on the screen. But I knit the Audrey cardigan by Knitting for Olive, kind of modified to have the same button bands as the Theresia or the Beatrix cardigan. And I did the same neckline situation from the Audrey cardigan, which I used my I-cord tool for. And again, that made it so quick and easy and fun to work the little bow tie neckline. And this worked up so quickly, and I think it's going to fit her about size 1. It's extra wide and long, so it will fit her for longer, but it was just such a quick, easy knit that I decided with the yarn I had left to knit the bear bonnet by Knitting for Olive as well, to have a cute little matching winter set. Again, I-cord ties with the I-cord tool. I did the moss stitch option for the headband because she has the ribbed option or moss stitch, and it has the cute little ears. So I always wanted to make this one for my son because his name Arthur means bear in Welsh. So I meant to knit the bear bonnet and never got around to it. So I'm so excited that I knit it for her. We also call her little Tilly Bear. We call him Arthur Bear. We call her Tilly Bear, and I think she is kind of a koala bear because she is Australian made after all. The last thing I made before she was born, when I was on baby watch waiting for her to be born, I decided I wanted to use some of the leftover yarn from this blanket to make a matching bonnet. So I chose the Plantlet bonnet by Jessica McDonald. She has a YouTube channel. I have seen knitting tutorials from her before, but I followed a written knitting charted pattern for this. and I used again that same Cascade Heritage sock yarn. This only took 18 grams of sock yarn, and it was very thorough as a pattern, very easy to follow. I knit this in one day. I couldn't sleep the night before, so I was choosing what pattern I wanted to at like 3 a.m. And then once I did get up in the morning, I grabbed my yarn, I cast on 3.25 millimeter needles, and worked it up very quickly. It starts with the border and the lace, and then you get into the knitting of the hat, whereas the erantis starts with a provisional cast on, and then you work the stockinette before picking back up to do the lace at the end. So depends on what style you like. Do you like to start with the hard part and get to the easy, or vice versa, of which kind of pattern you want to follow for a lacy bonnet? But I, again, use my I-cord tool. So all of this I-cord took like 5 minutes to do, maybe 10. But I had gotten so good at using the tool by this point, it was less time than before. It has a different decrease method for the back than I had done on the other ones. I really like how this one looks. I would knit so many more of these bonnets, but right now when I put her bonnets on, it makes me nervous to tie it at the front because I don't want it to like fall back on her head and choke her. So I just haven't been tying them, so I'm not knitting more bonnets yet, but I will see if I use them more when winter comes. But I do highly recommend that pattern if you are looking for a bonnet pattern. And it's a great way to use up some sock yarn scraps if you are looking for some gift knit ideas. All right, we are moving into works in progress now. The first one I want to chat about is my Beatrix cardigan baby. I talked about this as a plan in my Knit Baby Knits video. This is the Beatrix cardigan by Gregoria Fibers, but the Beatrix cardigan was actually gifted to me by a viewer on here, and I am so thankful for that. I still haven't knit my version yet, but now I'm really excited to because I need to match her. But it is a saddle shoulder cardigan with this beautiful textured pattern all over the body and these cable button bands that will have a button loop, and I am knitting it in drops baby merino in the color peanut. I have knit all of this except the collar, and when I was picking up stitches for the collar, I tried twice and didn't get the stitch count right, so I haven't done it again yet. That was only like a week ago. But I have enjoyed making this so much. The stitch pattern is very fun. I thought it would be tedious, but it worked up so quickly, and I really enjoyed the saddle shoulder design, and the way it cascades down from the neck is just so beautiful. This is going to be such a timeless piece, especially once I make it for an adult size that will be able to last my lifetime. But for kid knits, I think that this is one of the most special things I have made garment-wise, and I can't wait to make mine to match her. Let me share the details of how I modified this adult pattern to fit a baby. It is going to fit size 1 to 2, I believe, probably closer to 2, but obviously she'll be able to wear it oversized with the sleeves folded up at first. The recommended yarn weight for this pattern is Aran, but I used a sport weight merino, and I followed the size 1 instructions to a T. I don't think I altered anything except how long I knit it, but even then I followed the row count, just not the inches, obviously, to fit a junior size. It's more of a toddler size. I don't know why I'm saying baby. I will put the current measurements on the screen. That is going to be unblocked. I haven't blocked it yet. To give you an idea of what the chest circumference and lengths turned out to be, I used size 3.25 millimeter needles for the main body and then 2.75 for the ribbing. And as I said, everything was worked according to pattern and worked out very proportionately compared to my other toddler size knits. I think the trickiest thing about this project, besides it being a saddle shoulder construction, so that being a little different than other projects if you haven't done that construction, was doing the German short rows in the textured pattern. That was just a little tricky, but once I figured it out, that also was not that difficult. I really do just love taking adult size patterns that I already have in my library and altering them or modifying them just by changing the yarn and the needle to achieve a child's knit, because it just feels more financially wise, as well as just you can easily make matching minis. And I think it's so fun. It gets double the use out of your pattern library without having to buy a whole separate pattern just to knit a child's version. And it only takes a little bit of math. I think that was all the baby knits I have to talk about, but now I have a couple me-sized whips I want to chat about. The first being the Ingrid sweater by Petiteknit in Knit Picks Upcycle Alpaca Blend in worsted weight in the color Latte. This is a discontinued yarn. It has been in my stash for a couple years, and I've literally been planning to knit this with this yarn for so long, and I don't know why I put it off. In my mind, this was going to be such an involved knit that I needed so much attention for, but it really isn't, and it's just as potato chippy as the Salty Days sweater by Kotova Kika was, which if you watched my baby knits video, you know I also have that as a baby knits modified whip, and I have not yet pulled that one out and finished that one, but it's fine because she doesn't fit it yet anyways. But I'm really enjoying the stitch patterns on this. It's really fun that you get little blocks of different stitches at a time. I only started this one a couple weeks ago and really flew through the back yoke and the fronts. I have now joined it in the round for the body. I did size up to a 4.5 millimeter needle because this yarn blooms when blocked. And I wanted it to be a really oversized drapey, and the size large I am knitting should give me at least 20 centimeters or nearly 8 inches of positive ease. I'm hoping the final garment is a little larger than that because I sized up and everything. I did do broken rib in the 2x2 section of this project just because I saw other people doing it and it looked really nice. I will have my project page on Ravelry have the notes for how I did that. And my other plan is to do 2x2 rib on the neck as well. I think still kind of undecided about that, but I think that's my plan. But while I was working on that project, I decided that since this is so much texture, I should order some yarn during Wool Warehouse's recent drops yarn sale and get the green yarn I've been dreaming of. I've been really wanting to knit something in like a yellow green. Honestly, my husband and I have been calling it baby poop green because when I was working on my pressed flower shawl, I was so obsessed with that color and I wanted a sweater in it. No, I have not finished that shawl. Don't come for me. I have so many unfinished projects, but I'm a new mom. You can't judge me. But I decided to go ahead and splurge. The two yarns I got aren't an exact match, and that was on purpose. I got Drops Alpaca in the color Olive Mix. That is color number 7233. I am holding it with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in the color Wheatfield, which is color number 41. This is what they look like together. Let me just give you a sneak peek. The combination works up so beautifully. So I am mid-row knitting the Cardi Cocoon by Ventzel. I have had this pattern in my library probably since the early days of my knitting journey because I have wanted to do a honeycomb project like this, but when I tried casting it on back in the early days of my knitting, this felt like way too much work, and it is a lot of work on the cable rounds. I did time myself, and on the regular rounds I can knit them in like 4 minutes on this back panel, but on the cable rounds it takes me 15 minutes compared to the 4 minutes of just the purl row or the knit row. That is so crazy to me, but it is so worth it. Look at this beautiful texture. Look at this beautiful color. This is going to be, it already is, the most beautiful thing I have made myself for me size. Move out of the way, book club cardigan. Here honey cardigan comes. I am so in love with this. I really can't put it down. Every time she is napping on me, I'm like, oh no, guess I'll have to knit. Guess I'll just sit here knitting for the next hour. I'm having so much fun with it that I haven't really picked up my Ingrid since I got this yarn. But as you'll notice, I said when I was putting down my Ingrid, I'm working on this texture. Maybe I should order something so I can do a stockinette sweater. My toxic trait is literally not being able to just make a stockinette sweater because every time I order yarn thinking that's what I'm going to make, I end up being like, you know, this yarn would make a really nice cabled cardigan. So I'm having a blast knitting on it, and I am trying to remind myself not to have any shame about unfinished projects, because anytime I have a pile of unfinished WIPs, it can really weigh on me, but I always come back around to them and get a hair to just finish a bunch of WIPs at once. And it's great because they'll all be close to the finish line and I just need a couple sleeves or something. So it's really fun to just enjoy the cast-on-itis when it hits me, and to knit things that I'm inspired by when I'm inspired by them. This really is going to be the most me knit in the world because it is my color. It's going to be another cabled cardigan for my wardrobe, and I love how oversized the Cardi cocoon is. A super oversized project. This is the first time I'm ever knitting the smallest size for myself, because even the smallest size has about 30 centimeters of ease for me. And I am knitting this in a denser yarn than recommended in pattern. The pattern recommends a fingering weight held with 2 strands of lace weight. And I am knitting this with a sport weight, which is drops alpaca is a sport weight. And the brushed alpaca silk feels like a lace, but it says it's a worsted. I think it's somewhere in between. It kind of brings the sport weight up to what feels like an aran. So the fabric in technicality is denser than recommended in pattern, but it doesn't feel dense. It still feels floppy because it's alpaca, and is working up just slightly denser, but in the most cozy way. It's not going to be heavy. It still flows. And I just know this is going to be my favorite thing I have made to date. I started this, I think, 3 days ago. And as a new mom, having worked up this much cable, you know I'm obsessed. Not new mom. I keep saying new mom, but newly postpartum mom. The last project I want to update you on is my twist loop sweater by Other Loops. I have not added the neckline on this yet because, as I shared, I intend on modifying it, I think, but I've kind of changed my mind. I think I am going to end up putting just the regular folded neckline on, because I was obsessed with mock neck for a little bit, but now I feel like I really just love a wide neck. Maybe it's because it's warmer weather, so I can't fathom having wool on my neck right now. But I have modified this to have a split hem. Now, the reason I stopped working on this, even though I was so obsessed with it when I was working on it, I have stopped working on it because when I was pregnant, I couldn't check whether the length was working for my body. And even now that I'm postpartum, none of my clothes fit me the way I want them to right now, which is fine, but it just makes it difficult to decide how long to knit my projects to. So I haven't fully sent on finishing this body, but I think I should at least finish the sleeves and decide if I still want to commit to the split hem. Split it right in the middle where there's 2 purl stitches on the side, and the purl stitch became a slip stitch, and then I knit the 3 stitches in the 3x2 rib to be the end column of the rib, and then worked the rest of the body in the 3x2 rib before binding off normally, passing 1 stitch over the other. And I'm going to do the same on the front, but just knit it like maybe an inch shorter, if that. I am knitting this in Bendigo Woolen Mills that I got in their back room, so it's not something you could find on their website, but it's in this lakey green color, and I love this yarn. I love this color. I love this pattern, but this just needs sleeves and to finish the front hem. And pulling it out really does inspire me to go ahead and finish that soon. But again, it'll be a while before I can wear it. It helped me really heal through the process of grieving leaving Australia to be working with my Australian yarn. So I look forward to pulling this back out and dusting this WIP off, finishing it up. It will be such a lovely piece in my wardrobe once it is done. As you can tell, I am quite green obsessed right now, and I don't see that ending anytime soon because green really does feel like it's my color. The last thing I wanted to share is kind of a project plan, even though I don't know if I'll be getting to it anytime soon. Clearly I have my hands full, but I wanted to say that I saw Knitting for Olive released a dress in the same month Tilly was born called the Tilly dress. I think it released right around the day she was born, which was so crazy. And it literally is a design like one of the ones from Knitting for Olive I wanted to knit. It's like a ruffle dress. So thankfully I haven't even bought the ruffle dress pattern yet, and I will just buy the Tilly dress when I'm ready to cast that on. And I feel like it was just absolutely made for her. I am so excited to continue making all the precious little knits for her. and I'm so glad I could finally sit down and update you on where I've been, what I've been making, and how it's been going. I am definitely enjoying my knitting again, and it has definitely been something I've needed to feel like myself during this postpartum period. So I want to thank you for sitting and unraveling with me today. Please let me know down in the comments what you were working on while watching, and if you got any inspiration. Stay cozy, and we will see you again next time. Bye, friends.